All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright, and we have made it to my favorite day of the week, Friday. And obviously had some pretty neat things happen yesterday. I mean, maybe not neat, but the draft. My phone started, I don't know how, why, but I was driving. I told you I wasn't going to be glued to the TV because I think it's a non-event that is made into an event. It kind of turns me off by how many people are entertained by people announcing names. And may or probably not.
I mean, it's not just names, but it's not like they're just doing bingo. They're not just
they're bingo names to me, Paulie. I don't know, outside of 2 or 3 guys that were drafted. Like, I can't even name the Panthers receiver that was drafted. I know his receiver, Arizona maybe.
Yeah.
I should know his name, but they said it. It feels like a kind of a unique name. Starts with a T, I think. But what I was saying is my phone gives me automatic updates, almost like, a warning to the world getting ready to end. Every time a draft pick comes across. I don't know what setting I've got it on. I don't recall,
Brian,
approving that.
Those are just called notifications.
But it's like big. It's like big notifications. It takes up the whole screen.
Have you had
it? Has it done it to you?
I've never had anything like that before. Clearly, I get notifications on my phone. I think we've talked about this before. I've seen my daughter's phones, and they're on more social apps and everything than I am, and it gives me stress about how many notifications pop up. And
that's actually a great point. So I got a couple of things to think on that. I would say, one of the kind of bigger things that we talk about with females, or really even just children in general, especially go through middle school and high school, I would say anxiety levels are raised by the constant notification of messages.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
I mean,
you feel like you got to respond to them. Like it's
for sure. And it's like ba-ding, 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 and I don't know what you do. I think I still, because I'm not really that much natured differently at 16 than I was now. I would definitely hit them silent at some point. My son has a phone. He has buddies that do it. He just goes automatically. He doesn't even respond. It's not a great quality at all. But I do think it is a quality where you got to be able to turn that stuff off.
No, and that's what I remember. I think it's on Snapchat. There's something called streaks where it's like you spoke to somebody on consecutive days. And I remember my oldest in early high school or middle school, I was driving school, and she was just like, going through a list of like 50 people. It's like, oh, I've got streaks with all of these people. I'm like, but you're not really you're not communicating. You're just like checking a box. It's like you're making your life more challenging and kind of not, I would say insignificant, but it's not real communication. It's not real.
No, it is really a play on the mind, and I think there's some psychology to it that plays into it, and maybe that's the Chinese game. Hey, speaking of the Chinese game, last night, Paulie, in a hotel, previous night actually, and in a hotel, go to bed kind of early, wake up at like 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And I have cricket on. Mumbai Indians, or just so everybody will know, they are in the top 4. Really good chance of making the playoffs. Anybody that's really interested in it. A lot of overs, a lot of good batters, a lot of good bowlers. Had a really.
What did you fall asleep with the TV on? And when you?
I fell asleep. So I happened to fall asleep with cricket on.
Okay.
Turn the TV off, or kind of, you kind of fade in a hotel. You kind of fade, turn it off. I turn it back on. I wake up magically at 4 o'clock because I went to bed kind of early, like 9:30, and I turn it back on at 4 o'clock. There's cricket on, live cricket on from India, and so I don't know what channel this hotel had. Definitely a hotel, not a motel. But I am a fan of the game. I can't help it. I don't know. I really think I'm surprised it hasn't gotten some traction here. The fans really get into it. India, it's obviously their game. Famously, there's a Middle Creek up here next up. They have like cages that are dedicated to cricket.
Yeah.
I have had a cricket ball before, the one big scene. But anyway, that was kind of it's a captivating game. There is they take a long walk. They like come out of the dugout and walk all the way to the center of the pitch. I think it's what they call it. And like,
They're
I
like
don't know, they
waving
would
and
take,
stuff. It's like a walk up. So they
yeah,
like
yeah, it's kind of
arm.
a little wave. They're kind of locking in. They're making sure their shin guards. They all walk the same because they're wearing those big shin guards. But they walk in from such a long distance that I feel like they could cut down some time there. I feel like they need maybe a clock for those guys.
Oh,
But you could
you
hit
want to bring the
forever.
clock to cricket?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And there's a little different rules depending on, I don't know exactly. I still don't exactly understand the rules. But hey, back to the draft,
Yeah,
Paulie.
yeah.
What was uh what was your takeaway?
So we were watching a little bit of it together last night before we were recording, and we got to the 21st pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that seemed like the time when Shador Sanders was going to be selected, and Goodell came out and said Derek Harmon from University of Oregon, defensive tackle. And I thought that was going to be it, man. I was ready to, and I thought that would be a really good spot for him. Come in with Mike Tomlin, and I think that's a little bit of we've talked about Dion having a little bit of a helicopter dad, right? Where he's just kind of always hovering, and not in a bad way, but always around. And those were some of the things that he had kind of mentioned. Like he wants Shador to go to a winning organization, an organization that has their act together. So it seemed like a really, really great fit, but didn't happen. So that was one of the big surprises.
I would say it definitely is. And we counted them off yesterday. After this pick, there's nobody else taking a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
And so I would say there's a lot of people that I think give Deion Sanders a lot of lip service because they realize that in the public eye, he has a ability to control narrative and has the ability to communicate in a way that will make you come off as kind of the bad guy if you're critical of Deion. He's kind of, played that game really well, and I think rightfully so. There's been times that people have been critical of him, and he
Yeah.
shoots back. He goes back hard. So I think there was a lot of kind of lip service about how good people really thought his son was. But I think this is kind of telling the truth because if people thought he was as good as he is, or as good as they were kind of saying, he would have been
He
drafted.
would have been gone, yeah. I
Yeah,
think the other really big story of the night clearly was Jacksonville jumping up and trading with Cleveland for the number 2 overall pick and getting Travis Hunter. And I mean, I think it shows where Jacksonville is. They've got the 34-year-old GM, youngest GM, making moves, man, making an impact early. And it was really interesting, listening to the folks commentating on it, and they were comparing a little bit of Shohei Ohtani comparison, which we've heard in the past, and they said he was the first ever player announced as both a wide receiver and DB in the draft, which I didn't realize that. That's pretty interesting. But I mean, they were essentially saying you're getting 2 players for one, right? And they were very very clear about it. Like, hey, he's not going to play 120 snaps. He's going to play some on defense, maybe defensive packages, offensive packages. He wasn't going to play the whole game. Maybe eventually he does. But man, that was a big move, and I think they're really that fills 2 voids for Jacksonville, man. That's and they
yeah.
traded,
If you can do
they
that with
traded a
one
little
pick,
bit. Yeah, traded a little bit to get him, but I thought that was really interesting. And the more I think about it, man, the more I really like it.
I'll say this: it feels like Travis was the focal point offensively, and they were so weak other places defensively that it was easy to go away from him.
Yeah.
I'll be curious if he has that kind of success on either side of the ball. I tend to like the kid, just from a personality standpoint. So I'd watched some of Dion's His one of his sons does kind of a production on YouTube and kind of followed him around. And
Yeah.
I tend to like. Honestly, there's so much hate around that program. I tend to like their program, at least what he says. I think sometimes it comes across a little bit victimist, like being a victim. I'm not a fan of anybody claim, the world's against me. Why, whatever the case may be, especially people that have been extremely successful, like Dion has. But that is obviously portrayed in a positive way, and it portrayed Shador and Travis in a positive way.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it was them competing. It was them, and maybe in between. Um, Back to Shador, though, I think there's a lot of people not been willing to tell Dion the truth because of what they thought of him. And now Shador, who knows how second, maybe third.
I
If
think
he's in the room. Hey, so I didn't get a chance to watch it. You watched it. Was he in one of the rooms that was live around there where he was able to
they
walk
had
up on
cameras there. He
stage?
wasn't in the green room though. No,
But he was at the draft.
no, not at the draft.
Oh no.
He was at his own private location. Um, but it's always interesting. I mean, I think probably the most famous one was when Aaron Rodgers slipped from potentially top 2 or 3 pick to 25, and he just
I think he was 24, and it worked out great for him.
Yeah,
He needs something to build that chip on his shoulder. We talked about
maybe
that
this is it.
yesterday,
Yeah.
and this could very well be it. Hey, one that I just saw magically come across my screen, a local product.
Omari and Hampton, yeah.
Yeah, which was pretty awesome. Obviously, we do have to do this sometimes the night before. Can't do it at 5 o'clock, but this is for Friday. And that's another one that was kind of. I saw him as a senior in high school. My daughter ran track, and they were indoor track, and he was running track, and he looked like a grown man. I bet if you looked at his size in high school and his size coming out of college, I'd be surprised if he wasn't a little bit lighter now. But he was so put together as a senior in high school, so much faster than even track people in most cases.
Yeah.
And man, what a pick he is, and probably gonna do good things in the NFL because he did really good things at UNC, even though they weren't a great program and he didn't get a lot of prestige. I think people recognized what he potentially could be. Hey, I'll say this.
So locally, so we're in that area. He came from Cleveland High School, was the Gatorade North Carolina Football Player of the Year his senior year. And that Cleveland High School, as much as I hate to admit it, they've kind of become the gold standard along with a couple of other programs in the area. That really good program. They've won that conference for 7, 8 years in a row, and they're changing some things with how North Carolina does their classifications here in the next couple of years. But
Cleveland will be broken up a little bit over the next 3 or 4 years. There's a new high school. Side note, not that anybody cares, but there will be a new high school within 4 years.
Yeah, to our listeners in California and Wisconsin, I don't think they're.
We got like 4. So hey, I appreciate those 4 though, Paulie.
Love them to death. Yeah, yeah. The other thing, Brian, you mentioned how much you would not want to do this. I think they said there was 200,000 people to watch, and if you see the screen, you watch them doing it. People are everywhere, dude. They're packed in there, and they were trying to people. There's people in the stadium. There's people at the stage. I mean, it's incredible.
I think it really speaks to the psychology of people wanting to be a part of something. Because this is not. There's not. I mean, maybe there's some type of music. Hey, if I'm 22 and I'm single, and maybe there's a female, I just don't. I mean, I don't know, dude. That many people in general, it doesn't appeal to me. But really, not. I'm not. I mean, dude, I could get into watching almost any sporting event.
Clearly, you were watching cricket.
Yeah, cricket 100%. But even soccer that I don't necessarily love. Women's basketball, I could get almost into watching anything when there's competition. When it's this feels like watching, like a pageant or something. I'm not into the pageantry.
A lot of people love this pageant, man, because it's.
Hey, I do want to make one note that I think is interesting, and I think Saquon Barkley has brought back the relevance of the running back.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude was an absolute just animal out on the field last year, and probably could have done more had he chose to play a couple games and that sort of thing. And I think you're speaking of Ashton Genty getting picked in the top five there and by the Raiders, and it feels like those running backs have such a short lifespan or shelf life or whatever you want to call it. Um, if you've got one that's generational ish, right? Like Ashton Genty, like
Maybe he is.
maybe I don't know. Yeah, I mean, but those positions seem to be able like the measurables are there. You can see how he runs. You can see how he hits holes. You can see how he makes cuts. I think those things translate really quickly and really well to the NFL. I mean, there have been a lot of rookie running backs who have come in and had immediate impacts. And you want to do it while they're still young, while they don't have as much wear and tear on their body. And so I think you're right. I think Saquon really proved. I mean, the Giants, man, I know a lot of Giants fans who just are beside themselves by the move their front office made. Do you remember the video? I think you sent me that video with the Giants staff, and they were talking about they were going discussing Saquon, and they're like, "Yeah, we got to let him go. We got other holes, and we'll find somebody." And there was one guy in the room who's like, "But guys, like he's really good. Like,
Well, that video was the GM's son who said, "Hey, if I was taking anybody, I would take Jalen Daniels and I would keep Saquon."
yeah,
I don't know how that video gets released when the GM's son, if they do those two things or figure out how to do those two things, the franchise is completely different.
they probably make the
But really,
playoffs. Yeah, make a run. Yeah,
I was speaking on Saquon as far as the running backs being picked again in the first round. There was a number of years. Somebody was showing it on one of the feeds that I saw. There have been years where there had been no running backs picked in the first round or one running back picked in the first round. And so I do think there is, and they had famously kind of fought to get paid like a receiver. You know, they're kind of on the offensive side, maybe at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to
yeah,
the pay scale, where if somebody is getting protected. Um, so yeah, I think Saquon did the running backs a favor with what he was able to do.
yeah. And again, Ashton Genty is proven to be really good. Won a lot of awards.
Yeah, no question. I'll be interested to see though. I mean, there's definitely been guys who've had great successful college careers that have not transitioned for long periods of time, right? But like you spoke of, I think of Todd Gurley, you know, another local North Carolina kid who went to Georgia, then was really good. Then his knees got banged up shortly after, and never really
I mean, like a
didn't have
three,
a very long
4 year.
career.
Yeah, if you get 3, 4 years out of a running back, it's like they done it, man. They done something, right? And I
I
mean,
agree 100%.
I mean,
I
Eric
agree.
Dickerson came out really well from SMU way back in the day. I mean, even more recent. I mean, not too recent. Doug Martin with
Oh,
Tampa
we're
Bay.
still in the '90s. Like if you go back and even the last 10 years, there's been a lot of running back by committee, right? So it's
Yeah.
hard to have somebody that you compare to like you know a Emmett Smith or Sanders or any of the greats that were kind of the standard guys. The only one you really think about is our boy in Baltimore.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Derrick Henry's that guy. He's just trucks people and runs through them and runs over and runs past them. That guy is definitely not anybody I would want to stand in front of.
No, no question.
Yeah. Right. So I was watching a little bit of Brewers baseball. Just a little day game, little getaway day, playing in San Francisco, and Christian Yelich just straight dropped a ball in left field. Might have took his eyes off it a little bit, getting ready to make a throw, but just dropped a fly ball, and it got me thinking. Aaron Judge dropped that one in the World Series last year, and it got me thinking through. As we're coaching, our kids, right, and we typically don't get too upset if guys drop it. We're not happy if kids drop kind of routine-ish balls, but we get it. And I think it gave me a little more perspective as well. It's like, Yelich has been a National League MVP. Aaron Judge might be one of the greatest players of all time and dropped the ball in the World Series, right? And so it got me thinking too. Is as you know, we have I know a lot of parents who have kids playing baseball that listen and other sports like it just again reaffirmed like just take it easy on the kids, right? Just like and when you're having those rides home, hey, discuss. Hey, what was going through your mind? Like, did you take your eye off it? Were you thinking about making a throw? Did you just muff it? Was there wind? Was there sun? And use it as learning moments, right? And because it happens at the highest level. Like,
No, no,
yeah,
no question. I go back to every time, and we preach it with our team, but effort, attitude, focus. Right? And so just because you're doing all those things don't mean you won't make mistakes, right? And so if those three things are taken care of, I generally, I'm not too verbally abusive to my kid. But I mean, I don't think I've ever overstepped, but it's a challenge though, right? Because it seems so easy. I'll tell you this: the further, especially for parents who just played in high school or didn't play, or just played in, maybe they played in college, maybe they played professional. The farther you get away from the game, the easier it is.
oh yeah,
And so, if if you can't remember playing, especially struggling at any level, it's much more easy to be critical. But that's the reason I think it's so important. Like, if you have people that you're around, or your sons are around, or daughters that they're playing a sport, whatever the case may be, that have played at a high level, they understand the mental side, which is sometimes the struggle side.
oh absolutely, yeah. And that's what I'm. I'm really happy that my mom and my wife kept a lot of like the newspaper articles from when I played because I can go back and say like it's like look like I was good, but I was also bad sometimes. Like I had some days, weeks, months when I was like I might be the worst player in the world right now. But
Yeah,
then
and sometimes your best isn't the best, isn't doesn't produce the result that you want, but that's all you can go back to, and preparing yourself to give yourself a chance, right? And so, no, that's a great lesson. I mean, there's very few guys. I don't think any guys have a thousand fielding percentage in the MLB. They make mistakes. You like to see them made on aggressive, right? And so, but it happens too. You don't, and I think a lot of other things. Just to echo what you said, if you don't watch entire games, you never see that highlight. That's never
oh
going to be on a Sports Center. That's never going to be on the MLB Network. Probably, that's never going to be
yeah, it's I
unless you
mean
watch entire games. You're
yeah.
not going to see it
Yeah, I mean it's a fairly innocuous play on a getaway day game that yeah, but it ended up costing the Brewers a run or two, whatever it was, and they lost the game by a run. So I know it's one of those things Yelich is going to remember
for sure.
probably his whole life, right? It's like, oh, God, I can't believe I dropped that ball, right? And maybe the first time he's ever dropped the ball in like 5 years or something, yeah, pretty routine. But then yeah, I was coaching our coach pitch game last night with my little kids, and if we just get like a force out somewhere, it's like we're celebrating like it's the a dive and play, Willie Mays or something like that. So it's brings it all back and helps you have a little perspective there. So it's a lot of fun though.
For sure.
Little Orioles update for you, coach pitch. Hey, we're undefeated, buddy. As far as the kids know, we're undefeated. I tell them we win every game.
Oh, do you?
I don't think. Well, nobody really keeps score.
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's different. I feel
I think a
like
couple kids
by seven
mentally
or
do.
eight, I think there's definitely because you got 7 and 8 year olds. I say 5 and 6. I don't know, dude. I feel like I knew at that age, and I feel like our boy. I feel like definitely Banks knew at that age.
Yeah, we're
How
still
old do you different kind of kids?
they're good kids. I mean, it's co-ed
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah. Good kids. We all
but
kids
they're
until a certain age. I say until about 12, maybe a little bit younger. All kids are good kids, and then you start seeing some cracks in that philosophy. Maybe 10, 11, depending on right. We've had some kids, you're like,
yeah some turds.
and
Yeah,
so, but you
yeah,
do. So you lie to the kids, even if you
yeah.
know.
And so we won. Yeah, they don't know. They're happy.
Now that's Paulie's a great person. I wouldn't. I couldn't. It would be. you have the right perspective at that point.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I'm still like I'm literally rotating, letting them play every position during the games, kind of rotating around, letting them. And what's been really cool though is to see, some of the kids I didn't expect, or I mean, I expect everybody to improve, but some of them are making legitimate, like fielding the ground ball and then running and getting a force play at second base, or
That's
hard
right.
hit ball at third, field it, touch third, or we've made a couple like field the ball, throw to first, catch it, or stop it, pick it up, tag out, like a ground ball out sort of thing.
That's the
We had
right, yeah, that's the right perspective.
a
I
couple
think
nights
even
ago.
now, it's funny though. I mean, we even talk about now, like winning is not the priority, but you want your kids to want to win,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's kind of the competitive, and we want to be the ones pulling them back and trying to have. I think it's hard if they don't have the fire to create the fire, right? But it's much easier to pull back somebody who's like, just
yeah,
on edge, if that makes
ultra
sense.
aggressive. Yeah, and we had a double play the other night. We had a pop up kid caught a fly ball, threw to first.
Oh wow,
Yeah, in those situations when they just hit the ball, every kid's just running.
yeah.
The kid actually overthrew first. Our first baseman, she ran, had to go grab it on the fence, picked it up, ran it back, tagged the bag before the kid could get back. So it was a double play. So big time pay for the Oreos.
Good
But man,
job, coach.
that's a lot of. So we hope, we hope your team got the person that they wanted, and that they're going to change the franchise for the better. Looks like the Panthers are shooting for offense early on, trying to get some help. They started, the Panthers started to play pretty well on offense towards the end. They started putting some things together. Maybe this is a sign of good things to come for the Panthers offensively. I remember some of those teams, the Cam Newton teams certainly, and kind of some of those late '90s teams. You remember the '99 team that Steve Berline? They had
Yeah,
like Moose Muhammad and Patrick Jeffers and some of these guys.
I love Moose, dude,
Yeah,
and Jeffrey. I'll say this: a lot of times, even and I recognize it, and especially in certain sports, but I think it's even the case in football. Even though sometimes the score indicates this vast difference, a lot of times it's something. There's one or two, three, four, five plays that make that vast difference on the scoreboard.
absolutely.
So even though we felt like, and like you mentioned, we made some strides. I think we made strides previously. They just weren't, noticeable on the scoreboard, right? And so, but you need to notice them, right? I mean, that's what the coaches get paid for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we hope you all have enjoyed the episode today. Keep listening, keep subscribing. Hey, go tell your friends, let them know, and tell them to check out the Right Stew podcast. So, hey, thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Out, go Pack and Tigers.